Well, apparently we're live. The pre-roll did not want to work. So here we go. I don't know, it's never done that before. Said error occurred. Okay. And the next thing I know, I see that it's live. So we'll roll with it. This is the Concealed Carry Podcast, Season 12, Episode 7. And welcome to the Concealed Carry Podcast, part of the concealedcarry.com network, brought to you by HK. Today is Thursday, July 24th, I almost said 2016. 2025 as of the recording of this episode. I am your host, Riley Bowman, joined today by special guest Ryan Gresham of Gun Talk Media. Ryan, welcome and glad to have you.
Thanks
And
for having me.
we'll do an official intro here momentarily. But first, today's episode sponsored, brought to you by our title sponsor, HK, Heckler & Koch. HK-USA.com is the website I'm going to point folks to. They are actually sponsoring the Guardian Conference in a big way this year, which is our 3-day training event in September, coming up here right quick, about 2 months away. Holy cow. Look for HK Pistols to be on the line at that event. They're going to be sending us some loaners and some other products for people to check out. We'll have a bunch of promotional items and things to give away. Really looking forward to 3 years of training at the Guardian Conference. But again, HK is a sponsor of that and of today's episode of the Concealed Carry Podcast, hk-usa.com. Today's episode also sponsored by KSG Armory Holsters. I was telling Ryan before we went live, we literally have a couple guys on the other side of the wall here building holsters right now. Folks, if you got an order in, they're probably being made right now. If you want, man, I'm struggling with the words today. Can you tell, Ryan?
Sometimes it's like that, man. Words are hard.
Probably got to just slow down a little bit as, I was in a rush. So if you need quality tested gear made by professionals, people that know and care about carrying a gun every day, all day, like our staff, like our guys, like our holster builders do. These aren't guys that just show up because it's their job. They're collecting a check and they just happen to know how to make holsters. No, they make holsters because they carry holsters all day, every day, of course, with guns in those holsters. Anyway, ksgarmory.com. If you want to check out the full lineup of products, continue to add new products. In fact, I anticipate having a couple new models on the site here in the next week. So I'll just tease one of those. Some people have been wanting to get their hands on a holster of ours for the PSA Dagger line of guns. That is finally going to hit the site here pretty quick. I can't say exactly when, but pretty excited about that. ksgarmory.com. All righty, Ryan, let's get into it.
Yes, sir.
So why don't you give us a quick rundown spiel of Ryan Gresham, Gun Talk? What do you want to say?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Ryan Gresham with Gun Talk Media. So Gun Talk Media, as it exists today, we have a nationally syndicated talk radio show, Gun Talk Radio, hosted by Tom Gresham, my dad. Been on the air for 30 years with that one. And then we've got some TV shows. We've got Guns and Gear, which is on outdoor channel, and also a Sportsman channel, and also our, all the online places. We've got First Person Defender, which is a show I think we're going to talk about today, and a bunch of other things that we do. One of the other things that we do that some people don't know, it's because it's relatively new, that you might like, Riley, actually, is at our Gun Talk headquarters, we run classes and events. And so we have Gun Talk training here. We have classroom. We have ranges on site. Same place where I'm in our studio here, same location. We've got a big building and acreage and outdoor ranges. And so sometimes it's just come to a 2-day, 3-day pistol class, bring your gear, bring your ammo. Sometimes it's something that's sponsored by a company or 2 or 3, and it might be a special event where you get the training and the gun and all the things. And so that's kind of what we do. And my background is in media. So, I mean, I kind of grew up in this world of the gun industry where my dad and my grandfather were going to SHOT Show every year, even when I was a kid, and worked in, they worked in media. I ended up going into, I guess you'd call it mainstream media, working for Fox Television, working for Cox Communications cable provider, I worked at a radio station. I worked at a print magazine, and then kind of came full circle to work in the gun industry in media, and that's where we are today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, quite a history, obviously a family history there, as you mentioned. A lot of folks know Tom or know of Tom or have been listening to, as you mentioned, Gun Talk for decades. I certainly have. And so, yeah, I mean, but you mentioned First Person Defender, which is, as you mentioned, one of your projects. And that's been going now for a while. I think, was it this is the 14th season, if I recall?
14th season, yeah, and it's kind of funny as a TV guy, we had other shows we were doing, and we deliberately decided to not put that on traditional TV and made it a web series, even though we film it the same way we do our TV shows. It's fairly involved with a lot of crew, audio guy, a lot of cameras, a lot of editing involved to capture the action. But yeah, 14 seasons, and I think it's varied a little bit over the years, but somewhere between anywhere from like 9 episodes to even as many as like 21 episodes per season. So, I mean, 150, 200 episodes of that show that we've done.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, congratulations to you on that. Just to get to even 100 episodes of any show is, I think, definitely notable.
Thank
And
you.
already this season, I don't know how many episodes you have planned for season 14, but you've released 8 episodes for
Mhm.
season 14 thus far. The last one 5 days ago. So that means, I guess, in about 2 days, there should be another one up online.
Usually, it's a Friday drop. It's a Friday
Yep.
launch of each new episode, and I think we've got 12 or 13 episodes this season. I should know that, but sometimes you film them, then they go to edit, and then they're marketing is working on it, and you move on to the next project. But yeah, the concept with First Person Offender is we put regular people into self-defense scenarios. They don't know what's going to happen, and we're using and usually there are guns involved. All of our content is kind of gun themed, so we're using force on force training techniques and force on force gear. So they can really, bad guys are shooting at them. They could get hit, they could shoot back, or they could miss. And it's a 360, 720-degree environment getting
Yeah.
off the square range. And that's kind of where this idea started from.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you mentioned it's gun themed, and not to like focus on a particular episode at this point, but I was actually really excited to see episode 4 of season 14, this current season. It's titled "Can She Escape Without a Gun?"
Mhm.
That episode, the very first scenario starts out like the gal featured in that one just has pepper spray. And I'm
Yeah.
like, sweet, like this is unique, this is different,
Mhm.
And how does that go? Well, it definitely changes things and makes things quite a bit different and more challenging in a lot of respects, especially when your attacker is armed with a weapon. But we'll get maybe back into that because I think there's probably some lessons we can cover with that one.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So, was this your brainchild, or how did First Person Defender come to be?
Yeah. So, kind of how it started is if you go back, and then some of the people may remember. So, if you think about outdoor television as it existed like 14, 15 years ago, there were a few shooting shows. Mostly it was hunting content. And you had Shooting USA, which has been on the air for, I think, 20 years now, which was highlighting the competition shooting stuff. And then my dad was actually kind of the creator, producer, director, host of PDTV, which Personal Defense TV, which was the first show to really highlight personal defense training, going to Gunsight, going to Clint Smith, going to the biggest trainers out there and the biggest schools out there, and having these trainers give tips and techniques and that type of content. And it's all pretty much square range training. And we knew that law enforcement military were using simunitions. It was simunitions is kind of like Kleenex. It's actually a brand, but everybody uses simunitions as shorthand for talking about using some sort of paintball projectile type thing, shooting rubber pellets to train and do like some real life training. and shoot house type stuff or whatever. So our idea was, well, law enforcement and military train with this, but what about all these concealed carry folks? What about all these folks who own guns for concealed carry, personal protection, home defense? What about them going into scenarios they do not know what's going to happen? And it's everyday stuff. And really, we kind of started off trying to tackle those most feared events. The bump in the night, I'm woken up in my bed, I'm at an ATM, I'm in a parking garage, and those things that people worry about. And another subject that we can get into later at some point is sometimes people worry about the wrong things. But that was the idea, and give them some training, run them through a scenario, give them some training, and see how they improve. So I like to say it's a little bit of a self-defense makeover show, although it's not. I mean, we filmed these pretty quickly, so it's not like they get days and days of training. But even with a small amount of training, they make great improvements, and that's where the show started from.
That's awesome. I love that. And as you mentioned, so much of traditional media over the last couple, no, well, pretty much over history has been very hunting show focused. Uh, this has been a really cool show to follow along. I mean, I don't remember exactly when I first learned of first person defender, but I remember it was a number of years, several years ago at least, that I remember watching my first episode and being like, okay, that's a cool concept, to see something like that put out there in this type of media form, uh, to be able to share those lessons with people. I mean, you're talking about pretty much everyday people going through these scenarios that I hope is reaching everyday people that go, oh, wow, that's interesting. I never considered that before. I
Yeah,
was
a
telling,
lot of lessons learned.
yeah, I was telling you before we went live that, for years now, since really the beginning of the Concealed Carry podcast, we've done maybe hundreds of episodes now. I don't know. It's hard to keep track. It's kind of like you talking about, how many episodes we have this season. I don't know how many episodes we even have on the podcast, and how many of those have been Justified Saves episodes. So longtime listeners are familiar with our concept of Justified Saves, which, just for your benefit, Ryan, like we kind of took the concept of Safariland, who, feature, I don't know if they still do, but they, for a long time, featured on their website, their ballistic armor, saves that
Mm,
that they had of saving cops' lives primarily,
yeah.
so they were up to like how many thousand saves, and you could, read a number of documented accounts right there on the website. And so it was like, we talk about self-defense situations and defensive gun uses, and it was like, hey, what these are people in a justified, legal, moral manner using deadly force to save themselves or others
Mhm.
they care about. And so that's where we came up with the term Justified Saves. And now we've covered, I know at this point I've certainly read through thousands of stories, because these all come from news media reports. And that has been eye-opening for us as hosts, me and Jacob, my co-host, and also for the listeners. They continue to be some of the most popular episodes on the podcast, because people, I think, love hearing those stories for a variety of reasons. One, it's like, okay, this is real life, and people,
Mhm.
I think, are compelled by real life stuff. It's why I think people watch like crime TV and shows and things like that. Like, oh, this is real, this happened. And there's something compelling about that. um, but also that they love learning about the lessons. Like, hey, what could have gone better here? What could this person have done? A little bit better. What did they do wrong? First of all, that's a great place to start. Sometimes is like, hey, there's some things here that maybe didn't go quite according to plan, and maybe that's just it. Is maybe I think you've probably have experienced this or witnessed it as a host of first
Yes.
person defender, that people kind of maybe come into situations, and I know a lot of times you're surprising them with a situation, but whatever, for whatever reason, we come into a situation sort of with this like pre-programmed, ideal, like, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to
Sure.
handle, and then
Well,
it
especially
totally unfolds
people.
something, into something else.
Yeah, I mean, especially people who are into the subject. If they're listening to this podcast or our podcast or watching our show, you're probably a gun enthusiast, probably a concealed carry guy or gal, and maybe a little bit beyond the regular concealed carry person. Maybe you're pursuing knowledge, you're pursuing training, you're into it, you're trying to keep up on the latest trends and techniques and think through it. and that's really a good thing. But for instance, as we do the show, we interview people. We interview their back. We find out about their background, what's their knowledge of guns, and proficiency with guns. Do they have any things that have happened in their life that they felt like that's why I started carrying a gun, or they've ever had to use it? What do they work? Do they work from home? Do they go to, do they have family? All that stuff, right? So, for instance, somebody who's into guns maybe has my gunfight in their head, right?
Yep.
Oh, my gunfight, this is how I'm going to do it, right? And you interview somebody who says, I'm a master class shooter in USPSA. Cool. So you probably are good at drawing and shooting fast and hitting targets. That's usually really easy to bait somebody into shooting the wrong person in that case for our show.
Yep.
And then they go, draw, stop, boom, 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 boom. Guy goes down and they're like, wasn't that awesome? Anybody? Wasn't that awesome? You see that? Drew, shoot, center mass band, let's do this. And then you go, who'd you shoot? You're like, oh, shot the bad guy. He was wrestling with that guy. And he was like, okay, who was he? Well, I don't know. Was he a good guy or a bad guy? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe he was a cop? We didn't say anything about a cop. I know, but you don't know the backstory, right? So like, perhaps you could use a verbal command. Perhaps you could just walk away. There's just, they don't consider all of these other options, and what could go wrong or right, and think through it, because it's like you mentioned the lady that said, I don't carry a gun, but I carry pepper spray. Like, and then it's like, if you have a hammer, everything's a nail. And so like, well, I guess I'll pepper spray them. But are there other options? And in that case, that one was where we started saying, hey, let's think about, if he says move over, then cool. He's telling you to move. I'll start moving, and then I'll just keep moving all the way away from you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the thinking game. It's different than square range. Square range is your trainer yells gun, which is not great shooting command, or they blow a whistle, or they say go, or they blow a timer. There is no timer in real life, and the bad guy is the match director. They make the rules and they decide when this thing starts.
Mm-hmm. I had my eyes first opened up to such things before I was even really officially in this industry. I was a firearms instructor by that point, but a pretty new instructor. And I was still my full-time employment. Well, really, I was working for myself. I had a construction business. So I remember late one night working on a commercial job. We were doing a tenant build out in a kind of like a strip mall. And it was not the greatest part of town. It's kind of a part of town that's coming back, and now it's a lot better than it was. But at that time, it was sort of I went to work and I made sure I was carrying when I went to work there, for sure. Of course, now I just carry all the time everywhere,
Yeah.
But at that time,
you were still in the phase of, it might be dangerous here, so I'll decide to carry.
Exactly. So, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast, but it's been a long time. But anyway, what I had my eyes opened up to is I'm there actually by myself late one night, working, trying to button up some things, and I happened to notice some movement through the storefront windows out in the parking lot. And so I it catches my eye, and I look out there, and what I see right off the bat is a dude with a gun outstretched. Like
Wow.
he's going across the parking lot, kind of at a oblique angle away from me. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
And now I fortunately had a pile of building materials stacked right there in the middle of this floor. And so I just take a knee and get back, down behind that.
Yeah.
And I got my hand on my gun because I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just sitting there observing, watching. If I was to give you a description, this guy was wearing blue jeans, like a plaid shirt. He was bearded.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a hat or anything like that. It was just like normal hair, but a beard. And that's pretty much about it. Wearing sneakers or tennis shoes of some kind, but gun out. He's going somewhere with that gun. And I'm like, oh man, I'm about to watch somebody get whacked,
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I see another guy coming from another angle. He's also in plain clothes, and I'm like, whoa. And then I notice a third guy, and then I start putting pieces of the puzzle together. I'm like,
They all
wait.
had guns?
The two coming, I didn't. The guy they were after didn't have a gun. So I'm
Okay.
still at this point where I'm like, whoa, what's going, like, is this a hit? What is this? But then I kind of start figuring out, I'm like, I think this might be two undercover cops.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, they catch up. Like, this guy realizes he's pinned in. He's got nowhere to go. He could put up a fight, but he's not. He's not going anywhere good if that happens. And so he just surrenders. And they take him down. They arrest him. They were plainclothes undercover guys making
Yeah.
an arrest. On a presumably a pretty bad dude if they're with the way they were going about it. So that's like the first time I remember in my life, like just having the whole paradigm
Yeah.
just totally shifted, because it would have been so easy to be like, oh man, dude with gun, like, I better go, take care of this problem, kind of thing. And I would have shot a cop.
And Riley, it's even more challenging now because you have a lot of concealed carry holders.
Yep.
You have how many states? You
Yes.
guys should know 26, 27 states where you don't even need a permit now.
27, 28. So it's, yeah, you're
Somewhere
in the
in
right
there, right?
ballpark. Mhm.
So more than half of the states, you don't even need a permit.
Yep.
So you could I mean, there's not half of the country carrying, but you could say possibly, one out of every two people you meet could be carrying. You don't know. So,
Yep.
and it's like, just because someone has a gun doesn't mean that they're the threat. So yeah, I mean, I think this show, it's also, thinking through another thing that is kind of wait. I think John Correa, he was on the show for a little bit. His phrase is "wait your turn,"
Yep.
but and we've been talking about it. I like the way that John says it, but we've been talking about that concept for a long time of like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's not a quick draw and putting shots on target answer. Sometimes it's getting behind construction materials so you're not seeing drawing. And now you have the gun already in your hand. That's a really quick draw before
Yep.
they even realize what's happening. Sometimes it's being a little bit tactical and strategic about getting it out. Or I had one guy who was a super squared away, tactical guy, deployed, all these things. He's like, let me tell you something. I'll work up a tear if I'm being held up in a parking lot. Like, please, man, don't do this. He wasn't big man. I can take you down. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's like, no, I'll just be like, please don't do this. I'm just, make myself small. All those things that are thinking through this to give yourself the biggest advantage. And I think that's what we see a lot on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. A part of that is, I'm not going to give myself too much credit here. I've come up with like a total of probably like 4 memes in my life, but this is one that continues to get spread around the interwebs from time to time. Do you remember the movie Maverick?
Sure.
It's got Mel Gibson and, well,
It's a great movie.
yeah,
James Garner,
James
Jodie
Garner.
Foster.
Yep, absolutely.
Mhm.
And there's that scene where he's acting, silly or whatever, like he doesn't know how to play poker, and he picks up his hand and like shows his cards, right? Like on accident. And so, I basically made this meme where it's like open carry versus concealed carry, and open carry was showing all your cards, and concealed carry is, it was this. I for that image I picked James Bond, James Craig.
Okay.
Right? Or
Daniel Craig.
Neil. Yeah. Anyway, you know what I mean. I'm not the best with movies, by the way, so I don't even watch that many anymore. Although they're great, I just don't have time. Anyway, Daniel Craig, he's being all, he's like peeking at his card or something. And so, anyways, open carry, concealed carry, and that's one thing that I've observed for years is that concealed carry is more than even just like concealing and carrying a gun. Like the whole attitude and mindset behind it is that I don't want to show my cards, any
Mhm.
card, until I have to, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, what happens when people are too quick to react to a situation is essentially like, well, here's my cards.
Right.
All at once. Here's all of them, and it's like,
Mhm.
hold on, like we could be way more strategic about it. Be like, and that's what you just described essentially is like, oh, okay, like, can I buy myself some time? Can I de-escalate? Can I make my adversary feel, like I'm not a threat? Find
Sure.
distraction, all of that. So as you mentioned, John Correa, as he likes to say, wait your turn.
Mhm.
So I guess we're kind of jumping right into it, aren't we? As far as like already identifying what are some major takeaways and lessons and things that you've observed over the years through running this program?
Well, I had a conversation last night with somebody at dinner, and we were talking about, do you have to stand up to shoot a gun?
Mm.
Obviously, you don't,
Right.
right? But I think he was the Texas church shooting guy. The first guy that got shot stood up to shoot his gun, to draw and shoot, right?
Yep.
Maybe that's why he got shot. Maybe it's not. But
He certainly
have you
drew
ever
attention to himself in
drew
the
attention to himself,
process
right?
as he's trying to fumble for his gun or whatever. Yeah.
But if Riley is at a Waffle House at midnight and somebody busts in with a sawed-off shotgun and shoots the ceiling and says this is a robbery, do you need to stand up and show everybody your 1 second draw and first shot on target? Or do you maybe just go, wow, this is crazy. Put your head down, draw your gun from under the table, have it in your hand, have the option to get involved or not, because I feel like the gun enthusiast guys who like to argue on AR15.com or watch YouTube, GunTube videos. Let's talk about a 1 second draw to hit. Let's talk about a sub 1 second. Are you a 2? But that's all envisioning like some kind of like, we're going to draw and shoot real fast. Like, you can't outdraw and shoot somebody who already has a gun out. Okay. And maybe we can debate about all this stuff, but like, consider what Riley is saying. Consider like being a little more thoughtful. Maybe there's a scenario. We can all come up with a scenario where the guy has the gun out and then he turns his head and now you can draw and shoot him. Okay, fine. But like, there are other options than for the gram, quick draw with my comped gun thing. You know, there could be like, you couldn't defend yourself with a J-frame. Well, maybe you could, because maybe you're dealing with somebody who you're not the victim, or maybe you are the victim, and maybe you work up a tier and you're like, I'll give you all the money in the world, whatever, here you go. I mean, just being strategic about it. The other thing I've seen on the show is, it's one of the more frustrating things that I've seen from our good guys. And the thing is, our good guys come from a variety of backgrounds, and we try to do that on purpose. We have gun enthusiast people, the guy who's like, oh, I'm an A-class shooter in IPSC. Okay, cool. We also have the, I own a gun, but I don't carry a gun person, or whatever, right? One of the most frustrating things I've seen is people not willing to fight, not willing to turn on the mean gene.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. We had a scenario probably in season 4 or 5, perhaps. And we do a lot of stuff at our facility now. We have shoot house and we have outdoor parking lots and all this stuff. But we've done a lot of scenarios that are deliberately in the environment. It's in a grocery store. We're literally in a Piggly Wiggly that's closed. It's in a gas station. It's in a nighttime parking lot. And this lady, she's a jogger, and we had her on a jogging trail. She's jogging down the trail. Guy comes out in front of her. She's in the woods, and he stops her. And he's like, hey, and then he gets more aggressive and more aggressive. And he literally picks her up to abduct her, rape her, whatever, right? He picks her up and starts carrying her. And she's just going along for the ride. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, we've given you a gun. You have a belly band on. At least attempt to draw it. And actually, we weren't gonna stuff it. We weren't gonna not let you draw it. We were gonna let you access it because you're a 100-pound female. I mean, the bad guy has to drive this scenario, but like, turn on the mean gene, and you have to figure out what your line in the sand is. Give me your keys to your car. Cool. Get in the car. No, not gonna do it. You got to think through this stuff ahead of time, and tell your kids and tell your wife, even if they're not the gun enthusiasts, there is a time and place to get mean and to scream and to bite and to kick, and it's fine. He might punch me. Sometimes that's fine. Sometimes running away is fine, but you got to have all of those options, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You reminded me of actually the most recent episode, season 14, episode 8. This mentally unstable attacker with a knife.
Yes.
And I don't think it's mentioned in that episode, but I'm pretty sure some of your participants were Neil and Stephanie Widener.
They were.
Well, I guess maybe I guess Neil did. Anyway, so obviously they were featured in a previous episode as well. But you know, that guy in the very opening scenario there was fascinating to watch to me. I thought, in the end, he kind of he managed to get it done. It got a little bit
Mhm.
sketchy, bad guys wrestling with Neil on the ground, trying to, stab him and stuff. And meanwhile, your good guys like trying to look for, good shots to make. And that's pretty tricky. But
It became a mess.
yeah, it was a bit messy. And I was thinking, kind of seemed a little hesitant to, I mean, I understand, like, if a person makes for themselves what they deem to be the right or moral call, to, I'm not my fight today. This is somebody else's
Mhm.
problem. And
Mhm.
like you guys even mentioned in that episode, okay, well, he could have just gone in the bathroom and closed and locked the door and called 911. Like, okay, cool. Instead, the guy was he didn't do that, and he didn't like fully engage. He was just sort of like,
Yeah.
not really sure if I'm going to get involved or not.
Yeah, being half pregnant's never really a good way to be. Are you in or are you out? I mean, because if you're not willing to get involved, okay, you walk into a Circle K and there's a robbery taking place. I'm not saying you have to save the day. I mean, somebody else might say that. You might say that. Riley or Chris Serino may say, you need to get involved and help these people. His personal take. I don't know if he'd say that or not, um, but for the person listening, if you say it's not my problem and I'm not willing to possibly get injured or killed or go to jail over this store owner that I don't know, then get the hell out and run
Mhm.
away. Don't whip out your phone and start filming it, and don't hang out to
Mhm.
see how this goes down. Don't step outside and look through the window. Don't be there. Just
Yeah.
leave. But if you're going to get involved, you need to get involved. You need to draw your gun. You need to use verbal commands. You need to be very forceful. You need to look them right in the eye. You need to be on sights, on trigger, on bad guy, and be ready to do something if you're going to do it. Because that's another problem we see. We put people in these scenarios and they feel like, well, they gave me this gun and I know something bad's going to happen. And I figure, I guess we kind of are going to get in a gunfight or something. And then it's like, well, I guess I'll draw the gun. And that example, that guy, it was kind of like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to kind of point it at him and maybe that's going to do the trick. And wait, he doesn't give a crap that I have a gun out. It's frustrating to watch
Yeah.
for a lot of people, but it's great instructive. And bad guys can see if you mean it. They can hear it in your voice and they can see it in
Yes.
your demeanor.
Yes.
Now, could be guys who are hardened criminals who are like, I don't care, you ain't gonna do nothing. But I think for a lot of people, if you have that opportunity to say, I will shoot you right now, and you mean it, and you're on sights, on trigger, like that, that's helpful. And us as bad guys, I've been bad guy for dozens and dozens of episodes. KJ Kevin Jarnigan with us. He's been our like resident bad guy a lot lately. You get really good at reading people and going, I think he'll let me get closer.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to press the trigger. I'm going to see if I can take his gun from him. You start playing games as the bad guy for this to go, yeah, they don't really mean it.
Calling their bluff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. That's excellent advice, and certainly things that I've picked up on over the years as well. I mean, even Jacob and I here at concealedcarry.com, we've participated in and we have actually ran force on force scenarios in some of the training we've conducted over the years. And so we've watched and witnessed some of the same things. To that point, it's really important, and you just kind of brought this in a little bit, so I'm using that as a little bit of a opening, doorway here. It's really important that you have role players that know how to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Big time.
I've really enjoyed watching First Person Defender because, like, I think you got some excellent role players that, because yes, you have a scenario and you kind of have it planned and sort of like you want to have some parameters about, if they do this, you're going to do that, and vice versa. And this is how far you're allowed to go or not go, and you got to have some of those parameters in place for various reasons, including safety. But but every scenario, because again, we have multiple people involved and they all have agency to be able to
Right.
do this or do that, or come up with something you've never even imagined. I'm sure in fact, maybe we'll go there after after you address this, I guess, kind of question here, because I think it'd be kind of interesting to hear you talk about what are some of the things you've seen that just completely, like
Oh,
knocked your socks off. Like, whoa, I didn't see that
yeah.
coming, kind of thing.
We definitely don't know what these folks are gonna do, and that we do have some stories like that. But yeah, the role player thing, and I'll give people a little bit behind the scenes and some force on force on how you run these. The role players, and specifically the bad guy, really drives the scenario.
Yeah.
They're the ones that decide where this is gonna go. And usually, even though this is a show that we're filming, it is also training, and we are driving towards maybe a training point that we're trying to get to. So the bad guy can, this is all, it's kind of a choose your own adventure. It's kind of an if then situation where it's, well, if they do this, then I'm going to do this. If they don't take action, I'm going to start ramping it up because maybe we want them to take action, or maybe we're trying to give them the chance to run out of the store. The answer that we're not telling them is to run out of the store. So the bad guy's turning his back. He's distracted by other patrons. He's getting in an argument with somebody else, right? Or maybe you want the good guy to take action. Maybe the lesson is, I want you to take cover and draw your gun and use verbal commands. So we got to drive it that way. And all of the role players have to be kind of told what they're supposed to do, and only do what you're supposed to do. And I'll admit, there's been some bad guys or some role players that went rogue a little bit, and then your scenario gets a little bit wonky. You're going, oh no, that's not what we wanted to do, or we didn't want to overload this person.
Mhm.
So there's definitely a little bit of art to the role players involved, and it's really the trick for making really good scenarios and really helpful in training scenarios for the people involved.
Yeah. Well, that's I guess kind of what I was getting at is it's really important you have good role players, especially your bad guys, that, yes, things can kind of go a variety of ways and you don't always know exactly what they're going to do, but you need to be able to trust them that they're going to not do anything too wild or too crazy, and that they're able to read your good guy role players to
Mhm.
so that they can kind of make some adjustments too. Because like you just said, number one, we don't want to overwhelm people too much. I've learned from role playing and force on force that yes, there's need to there, and you talked about this. There needs to be a lesson of some kind, and there's usually
Mhm.
multiple lessons, but there's got to be kind of a focus here. The point isn't just to put somebody through something and make them feel bad about themselves,
Right.
because it's designed to just make them fail no matter what they do, like a Kobayashi Maru or whatever.
Right.
So it's got to be a point behind it. It's got to be appropriate for those that are involved, and so they come away with a positive learning experience that actually helps them going forward and not just like tears them down.
Yep. Yep.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's been times when I think in general, it's helpful because our format is we run through a scenario, we give them training, and we run through another scenario. It's doesn't always work out this way, but it's helpful when our good guy participant student does poorly the first time.
mhm,
And I'll be more specific. It's helpful if they get shot,
mhm.
because even if they don't do it right, they screw it up and they don't get shot or stabbed or whatever. They think, well, that went pretty well. You're like, no, it didn't. It didn't go well. So I think that you're more receptive to learning and training if you go, man, that first one went poorly. And we don't just automatically start shooting people because that would be unrealistic. It would be unfair. But it's helpful if they go, man, I need you guys to train me up. I need to change how I did this.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent thoughts. So back to what I teased a moment ago. What are, maybe just to share a couple of like, whoa, didn't see that coming kind of moments from the show.
Well, we've had good and bad moments like that, right? On the good side, I've seen grandmothers who weren't super gun people. And we have their grandkids in the back seat of the car while she's gassing up at the gas station, and we start to try to carjack her. And grandma turned on the mean gene. She became mama bear or grand bear or whatever. And we're all going, holy smokes. She is screaming and getting aggressive and then, dispatching the bad guy or whatever she
Yeah.
needed to do. I remember there's been times when people did get sly with their draw. Backyard hold up deal. All right, we're going to walk into the house. And the guy goes, okay. And he's walking to the house. Bad guy's behind him. And he draws from appendix and turns and shoots that guy so smooth and quick. Us watching it went, what just happened? That was amazing. How did you even draw that? We've had that. And then we've also had some other things go a little off the rails, I guess. I've probably talked about this scenario before because it was so weird and memorable. we had a scenario that was taken from the news. It was actually in the news. It was a police officer that encountered someone. It was a call for distress, domestic. He shows up and the guy is pouring gasoline on his girlfriend. And he's about to set her on fire. What we did in the scenario was we had a guy who came as the good guy, and we do a bit of casting and interviewing with these folks. And he asked us if it was okay if he brought his 14-year-old daughter to the filming. He thought she might think it's neat. So he said, is it okay if we put your daughter into the scenario? He said, sure. So the scenario is you have not seen your daughter for like an hour or two. She's playing in the neighborhood. You're walking down the street trying to find her. So he's walking down the street, and this was a big training facility where we had a shoot house with a backyard and a front yard and all this stuff. And he hears screaming and yelling. He goes around the side of the house into the backyard, and there is bad guy, me, with a gas can pouring, it wasn't gas, obviously, pouring on his actual daughter, and she's screaming, and I'm yelling, I'm going to set you on fire. He froze, but drew his gun and started shooting with Sim's gun at like 20 yards, 25 yards. Proceeds to miss all 7 shots. Gun runs dry. And then he looks at the gun. He looks at me. He looks at the gun. He grabs the barrel and turns the gun into a hammer and starts running at me. He bludgeoned me to death. And at that point, we yelled, end exercise, and made it stop. It's like, it got real intense when it's like your actual daughter. That was surprising. There's been a lot of moments like that. We had, we've tried to put people into scenarios that feel real for them.
Yeah. So
we had one from last season, Deanna, who works at an apartment building. She works in the office of a big apartment complex, and she's having to evict somebody. So this is her everyday life. And the guy comes in and he says, you evicted me a few weeks ago, and I'm going to show you what you've done to my life. Come with me. And he holds her at gunpoint. And in the first scenario, it didn't go well. She drew a gun from a purse, and they basically shot each other. I call it Tarantino'd each other. It was a Tarantino movie. Everybody was dead.
Yeah.
And she got hit pretty bad in the hands. And this is paintball, but it hurts. And you can get hurt. And she was crying, and it wasn't really, I don't think that she was crying from the hurt hand, because we cleaned her up, put Band-Aids on it. She wasn't like super injured, but it's just like getting smacked into the hand. But it's like this really intense moment where you thought, God, that felt real. I've had this happen. I've never had it gone that bad, but I just had to shoot this guy. And it just makes people think. We've had stories from viewers who said, watching your show saved my life. Or watching your show saved my kid's life. There was a guy who was a kind of like a lot of people probably listening to this. Concealed carry, gun enthusiast. My wife has her permit, but she doesn't carry. And he said, "You got to watch this show. It's really cool. I think you'd enjoy it. I think you'd learn something." So they sat down and watched several episodes. And she said, "Gosh, I really need to start carrying again." And so she was getting better about that. She's sitting in the front yard, kids are playing, a pit bull starts chasing their 5-year-old.
Hmm.
And because she was carrying, she ran up as the dog's trying to get the kid, and she's yelling, she's screaming, she's kicking, the dog's not stopping, and she had to shoot the dog. But how could that have turned out differently if she hadn't been armed?
Yeah. Yeah. That's heavy, man.
Yeah, so it's
Hmm.
it's an interesting show. We've learned so much over the years. And I mean, I guess people are maybe wondering, how the heck do I watch this thing, right?
Yeah.
It is online, so if you look up First Person Defender, you can watch the show. It's on the Gun Talk YouTube channel. The new season, we just kind of started a new thing, and we'd love the help if people are interested. We have a new channel. It's a First Person Defender YouTube channel, so it's kind of dedicated to this content, and it's growing quickly. And we just kind of figured out that we had so much content of this type that we needed a new place to house it. We have like 5,000 videos on our YouTube channel, and even YouTube people go, "That's too many." Well, you need to separate some of this content out because it's lots of shows. And so you can find it on any of the Gun Talk socials, but especially the First Person Defender YouTube channel would be a good place to see the latest season.
Yeah. And for those watching or listening, in the show notes or description of this podcast today, you'll find links. There, I think it's actually just a guntalk.com, and it's / like first dash person dash defender or something like that.
Yeah.
It's in the notes, or you can just go to guntalk.com and you can poke around on the website. I think you can just like scroll down, you'll find a link for watching the show, or it's under shows. I think you have it listed under shows, don't you?
Yeah. Under shows.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's a good way of going about finding it. You can go right over to YouTube and search First Person Defender, and you'll find it that way. Get subscribed and watch these episodes. Yes, I was glad you mentioned that. I was going to point it out as well that just this season you started putting them on the First Person Defender YouTube channel. You can go to the Gun Talk main channel and you can see all the content that you have available there. And I think you have a playlist or something like that, where you can find
Yep.
the
You watch the old episodes.
previous seasons. Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. YouTube. Do you think YouTube likes a channel called Gun Talk? So if we're
Yeah.
invisible, you may have to work a little hard to find us.
Yeah. No, I know how that goes. I mean, we've been dealing with a situation here at concealedcarry.com. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
Should have named it Demolition Ranch or something like that.
Yeah. And this has been it's been a lot of fun to talk with you. I mean, if you have a few more minutes, I might have you share a couple more things with us.
Sure, absolutely.
Um, so actually, just kind of looking at some of the more recent episodes, I thought I would we could just kind of tease these, I guess. Maybe this would give people a little bit of an idea of some of what they can expect for this current season.
Mhm.
So I'm just picking a couple of things that I was like, oh, that was really great. The first thing was, by the way, folks, you got to go watch episode 3 of the current season. The way that one started off, Ryan, like that's what I mean. That one got me, dude. Like right off
Mhm.
the bat. I don't want to give too much away because I want people to go watch it.
I think I
But
know which one you're talking about.
let's just say there's an execution that happens right off the bat, and if it,
You already got me emotional. There's certain times when we're doing these, and obviously I know everybody involved. I mean,
yeah,
there's like the role players, but there's times when it's like upsetting to me. I'm going, ooh, that was
hmm
violent.
hmm
And it's
cold
probably,
even,
oof. Yeah, it's like it gives you chills.
yeah,
But I mean, this stuff happens, and it's the more real we can make it feel for the audience and for the people involved, the better it is for training, for learning, for just keeping people tuned in.
That one got me, dude, because like it felt real, even to me as a viewer on my little, laptop screen.
Yeah.
I launched the episode. I'm like, okay, here we go. All of a sudden I'm
Mhm.
like, whoa, what just went? Sorry, folks on the mic. What just
Yeah.
went down like that? It just was so just woo. And there's a lot of great lessons learned from that episode as well. The guy you put through that, I think he's on your crew, right?
He is. Yeah, he's an employee. He's an editor, and we decided to throw him into the mix. And I mean, he edits this stuff. He's a gun owner, he's a shooter, he's not Mr. Tactical, but I think that that's a fair representation of a lot of people out there, right?
Yeah.
And that's one. And there's another part in that episode where you'll have to see it to understand it, but where you can see the good guy and the bad guy basically both working their way around a corner towards each other, but they can't see each other. And it kind of feels like one of those horror movies when like you want to yell at the screen of like
Yes.
run or get away, he's
Yes.
right there.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it definitely, I mean, it's the whole he should have, I would have, he could have done this. That's where the lessons take place because you're going, what you should have done there is this. And of course, the audience, all of us, we have the benefit of seeing it with 9 camera angles and being able to rewind it and fast forward it. When you're in the middle of it, it's really hard to keep track of what the heck's going on and even see things. I think we talked about the auditory exclusion, the visual exclusion of certain things. Yeah, but there are those episodes. There's some of them. I think we had one last season as well where I'm going, gosh, it's just really uncomfortable. Um we've had some. We had one that was and I don't remember what season it was. I'm sorry, guys, but um, domestic dispute turned into kind of a murder suicide thing that when you watch it, it's just sad.
Mhm.
And of course, it's a training thing, but man, it just felt really real.
Mhm. Yeah. That's what's I mean, this stuff is heavy. I mean,
Mhm.
just the so-called, I don't know, profession's not the right word, but the practice of concealed carry, self-defense. I mean, we're talking about not pretty, not good, not happy stuff. We're talking about the worst day in people's lives, and it
Right.
is real. Like, that's the reality. That is really truly, like, if there's a sad thing to all of this, it's the fact that, and I know, like, I've built scenarios probably like you guys have built scenarios. You referenced one already earlier, off of stuff you that actually happened.
Mhm.
A YouTube video you see of an officer involved shooting, or a news story that you read, uh, some kind of court case that, where the details come out, and you just like, this stuff is real. And the the worst day for a person's life, like, ever, like, that day comes to some people. And the unpredictable nature of it is that that could be any one of us. We don't know. We can't predict it. We don't get to. We're not the ones. We're not choosing and picking the time and the day of that gunfight. And that's a
Mhm.
different mindset. Like, if I could pick and, choose the time and day of my gunfight for that perfect gunfight that I have envisioned in my head, that would be one thing. But to just have something, I mean, I'm reminded of, again, from this most recent season. I don't remember exactly which episode it was. Uh, yeah, it's probably, there it is. It's episode 5, brutal hostage carjacking. That's the one
Yeah.
featuring Neil and Steph Widener.
Yep.
And that's another one that, like, starts really fast. Especially, I could imagine myself sitting in there, and having that hood removed from my head, and just how, like, quickly that develops. It's like, oh snap, we are in it right now, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we
And
do the
that's
hooded
how.
box drills. We do those on quite a few episodes where we put you into the scenario, but you have a hood over your head. So it really helps put you into the scenario quicker
Yep,
because for a lot of us, you don't know a bad thing's happening until it just starts happening. In
exactly.
real life, I mean, you're not given the like, heads up, we're about to do a thing in a parking lot and a bad thing's going to happen. But
Yeah.
that's why the hooded box drill is helpful, to help people not game it. You're just kind of being you. You're just standing here, you're sitting there, and something starts happening. So that's been an interesting way to run some of these scenarios.
Yeah. I mean, that's my point, is that
Yeah.
that's how real life is often, that because we have no other choice. I mean, we could be completely paranoid, psyched out, walking around code orange, code red all the time, and life would be miserable like that, by the way. Or we have the choice to live life to the best of our ability, which is what I advocate people do, because otherwise you're going to miss those important special moments with those that you care most about. Um, and so you're just doing your best, living your life, doing your thing, and then one day you just happen to be the one that's selected for the crap sandwich to go down, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh wow, I'm in it. And that's a tough thing. That's what we see, that again and again and again in many stories we've covered over the years, of people like having that initial, oh, is this is happening, this is happening to me,
I
like.
know. Yeah, it's that gap in reality where your brain has to catch up to, this is real, this is really happening right now. And you guys, I mean, if you've been covering this for a while, you guys have probably talked about this or heard it talked about, but like train your brain to kind of speed that process up a little bit, putting it on your gun. Um, One of the things you could say is, today's the day.
Yep.
Today's the day that I'm going to have to use this. Just help put your brain into that thought process, not freaking yourself out, but just helping your to not be nonchalant about it. I mean, we all know that the odds are you wear a gun every day for the next 40 or 50 years and you never have to use it. You never have to draw it. You never have to shoot it. But you'd like to not have that doubt in your mind when something is going down. Like, those aren't fireworks in the middle of Walmart.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and stop with the whole I thought it was fireworks thing,
Yep.
and like, let's take action and not hesitate. Hesitation can be bad, as it and the disbelief that this is really happening is not helpful.
Yeah. Yep. That's so common. I mean, when you read reports of people that were present at especially active shooter or mass shootings, that is not uncommon to hear those comments made of, oh, I just thought there was fireworks going off or firecrackers, or I thought somebody was just goofing around, whatever. And that is that denial part of the brain being like, no way this is happening today, but yet it is. And so again, not that we want to be totally and utterly paranoid as we go about our day-to-day lives, but we want to have that sense of realism, I guess, that, oh, those things do happen and this could be the
Mhm.
day. I appreciate what you said there. As we wrap this up, if you could give us three key, we'll just call them words of advice. It doesn't have to necessarily be related to what we've talked about today, but it certainly could be and would be appropriate to do so. Of, hey, if anyone from this episode remembers anything, here's three key things that you would advise that they learn or take from this.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think that the gun is not always the answer. I mean, we're all probably gun enthusiasts. If you're listening to this show or if you watch our show, you're probably a gun enthusiast, but the gun's not always the answer. Your brain is probably the more powerful tool. And what we were just saying, recognizing something's going down early, that's great, because if the first time you realize that there's a bad guy in front of you is because he's standing in front of you with a gun, there probably were a lot of clues before that he's walking up to you. You could have used verbal commands. You could have put a car between you and him. Just all those things, right? It just buys you time to make decisions. So your mind is really the more tactical tool in your toolbox
Yes.
beyond the gun. Um, Go get some training. If I like guns, I like buying guns, I like shooting guns. However, um, having a car sitting in your driveway and you never drive it doesn't mean you're a good driver. And you've probably heard the whole, I own a piano, I own a guitar. Does that mean you're ready to go play a concert? You're not. Go get some training beyond your concealed carry class. Probably that means a multi-day course. And I think you're going to have fun with it. And you're probably going to want to do another one. That would be another one. And I would say be less concerned about the gear. People get, this versus that, this gun versus that gun, this caliber versus that caliber. Sure, there are probably better ones and worse ones when it comes to holsters or ammo or guns or optics or whatever. But find something that you like, that you find is dependable, that you're going to use and own and carry, and just do it. Like, don't get wrapped up in all the gear stuff.
Awesome. Those are 3 excellent takeaways. Thank you for sharing that. And Ryan, thank you for sharing your time, your busy time with us for
It's been
this
fun.
episode
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to seeing the remainder of the current season and to continue to see you guys in general succeed and do more awesome things over at Gun Talk and everything else you got going on. Also tell Chris Serino hello sometime for me.
I will.
Chris and I, we go quite a ways back. Known him for better part of a decade for sure now, and he's been on the podcast before. Maybe we ought to have him on again, and we can do some, I don't know, follow up or something at the end of the season.
You'll get the best sayings from Chris. The Serinoisms. He drops all these crazy things. I don't know if it's from being Italian or from Ohio or being a trainer or a cop or whatever, but he's got some crazy sayings that'll just crack you up. It's fun.
Absolutely. Well, real quick as we wrap it up, just a reminder of today's episode sponsors were hk-usa.com, and KSG Armory Holsters, ksgarmory.com. And again, a shout out to Ryan and his crew and everybody at Gun Talk Media. Go to guntalk.com to see everything they're up to follow all of their different projects, channels, shows, and the various media. Make sure you subscribe to the First Person Defender YouTube channel as well as the Gun Talk channel while you're at it. And so hopefully I've hit all the points there, Ryan. Anything I missed?
No, that's great. Thanks for the time, man. You guys go check out First Person Defender. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. It's quality. I was going to say almost entertainment, but it's more than entertainment. It's quality education.
Okay.
So
it's entertaining. Sometimes you learn something,
It's both. So there you have it, folks. Until next time, a reminder to train right, train often, and train safe so you can fight hard, fight fast, and fight true. Take care.